Hello, FedPhoenix fam. So, I wanted to make a short video on a piece of advice for those getting ready to self-surrender to go to prison. Or if you have a loved one that's being detained, and you talk to them and you give them information you find on my channel. This is a piece of advice that will do them a lot of justice. So, um, actually, I'm going to do two pieces of advice here that are really solid. The first one, which wasn't the one I was initially going to address, but if your loved one is going to an FCI or a USP, right? A medium or a high security federal facility, what you want to do is, I'm assuming you have their paperwork. If you don't have it, you can get it from the clerk at the federal courthouse, where they've been dealt with, or have them mail it to you, because this is important and they can't take this with them to prison anyway. So if they have this paperwork in their possession currently, it's not going to be in their possession when they get transferred out after their sentencing, or when they get transferred out if they've already been sentenced. So if they send their property home, obviously you'll get it then. But what you want to do is you want to, on the, some people do like the whole discovery packet. Some people will say, oh, all the court transcripts. All that is really excessive. But if you're going to a medium or a high, a FCI or a low, or I'm sorry, an FCI or a max, they're going to want to know that you're not a snitch. I mean, unless you are 100% a snitch and you're going to a dropout yard, then it really doesn't matter. But so the easiest way to confirm this so they can walk the yard is you're going to want to take pictures. On their PSI, there is a section, and I forget what it's called. I think it's called I don't know if it's called cooperation or, whatever. But basically, there's a section on your PSI that says, what you're giving, what you've, to what degree you've been helpful, basically, to law enforcement. Or you can actually, instead of using that part of the PSI, you can actually use the plea deal, where the part where it outlines, what the person has, not what they're getting, what the plea is, but what they've given to get what they're getting. Which a lot of times with federal defendants, including myself, your cooperation is simply, taking responsibility for your conduct, right? But, and when it comes to higher security facilities, to mediums and maxes, nobody wants to live with a snitch. Nobody wants to share a cell with them or even walk the yard with them. And most of the time, unless people already know you are familiar with your case before you come in, you're going to have to prove that that is not who you are in order to not be labeled as such and deal with the consequences of that. So as the loved one in the free world, or if you're a person who's getting ready to self-surrender and you're going to this kind of facility, which generally people that get to self-surrender are people that are going to camps, sometimes lows, but it has happened that people going to higher security facilities end up being able to self-surrender. You're going to want to take photos of your plea agreement as far as what you have offered up, or the part of your PSI that outlines your cooperation, whatever that may be. And again, for I think a lot of people, myself included, it's simply that yes, you took responsibility for your actions, pretty much. But what you're going to do with these sections, this proof that you're not a snitch, is you're going to take photos of them and you're going to send them to a trusted loved one. And you're going to explain to them why they have them and what it's for. If you're the loved one, you're going to take the pictures yourself and hold on to them. And one of the easiest ways to quickly confirm that a person is not a snitch is to check their paperwork. And how you do this is if the COs won't, slide you the information or whatever. And often that comes at a price, like any favors from COs. So what you would do is when you get to the FCI or you get to the USP, you, the inmate, will say, when people approach you and say, we want to see your paperwork, this means they want to see proof that you're not a snitch. You would say, okay, well, my cousin, my friend, my wife, my mother, my whatever, or just leave that part out. Say, hey, have your people contact Janine Jones, 369, on Facebook or whoever. Basically you want to, the person on the outside who's going to provide this documentation should not have like you don't go, oh, here's this person's cell phone number, call them and they'll send you the proof. Nah, you just have one of their people in the free world or someone on a cell phone in prison reach out to this person via social media, so there's a buffer between them and that person, and provide the documentation. And once it's confirmed, once that's out of the way, then what your loved one needs to do, or if you're the person in the free world, is then block the person you were interacting with that you don't know on all social media to prevent any future contact, because there is no legitimate need for that to even exist. So that's a little something something for you, those of you going to higher security facilities or have loved ones going to higher security facilities. Definitely have that ready. I've encountered several situations where people are like, I want to show my paperwork, but I can't get my paperwork. And, I don't have my paperwork and none of my people have my paperwork. What do I do? Well, now your people got to go through the headache of getting your paperwork. Now, stuff that is not publicly accessible, for example, like the terms of your plea agreement, and using that to prove that you're not an informant in your PSI, then what you would do is you would actually, sign a waiver, inform your lawyer, and they may have you sign a waiver for them to give those documents to somebody. And then that person, of course, then takes photos of the relevant parts to use later for this purpose. So that's one thing for those going to higher security facilities. Now, if you're going to any facility, including a camp, the second piece of advice is for you. No matter what level you're going to, in general, if you're going to prison, and even outside of federal, I think this applies. But when you go to prison, there are 3 questions that everybody and their mama, all kinds of folks, are going to feel like they're entitled to ask you. What's your name? Where are you from? What do you do? Some people will really take it up a level and ask you how long you got, but generally it's what's your name, where are you from, what'd you do? And with this, you want to keep it simple and short and to the point. You don't want to be dishonest, because people will sometimes have their people in the free world do some digging and they will find out. But like for me, I would say, Thompson, I live in West Virginia. Now, once I got to know people and got comfortable, then I would, elaborate, I live in West Virginia, but I'm not from West Virginia. But that's not something that needs to be everybody's business. You want to keep it as short and to the point, because you don't want to give answers that give room for people to ask any unnecessary additional questions. So Thompson, West Virginia, nonviolent drug offense. Generally people, sometimes people try to get a little nosy and oh, you're from here? Oh, what part are you from? Or, oh, what exactly was your charge? And it's all that. You just say, I'm not really comfortable with that. You don't get cocky, don't get aggressive. Just very simply, I'm not comfortable with that. And, and if people get into the, well, what did you do? And you're not sure how to respond to that. Maybe you're not an assertive enough person to just tell people, that's not, that doesn't need to be known. Like, that's not, the details of my case aren't your concern. Or, or you could say, my lawyer advised against me discussing that with folks. That's an option. But generally what a lot of women do, and it's honestly pretty smart, is when people go, well, what happened? What did you do? Like, what, or any other just unnecessary questioning. They tend to kind of give the sad face and go, oh, I just really don't feel like talking about it. It's, I'm not, that's my past. I don't live there. Say something sympathetic and just walk away, and don't stand there and wait for a response. Cause you standing and entertaining the situation is just opening doors for there to be continued questioning and for things to keep moving forward. Whereas if you just keep it short and to the point, it's, and evade anything you're uncomfortable with, then, and basically walk away, without any weird pauses or silences, it's, people are going to lose interest because it's boring pretty much. But, so you need to be ready to answer those 3 questions off the top of your head, like a reflex. Where you from, what you do, what's your name, Thompson, West Virginia, nonviolent drug offense, and keep it pushing. So, that's a really solid piece of, prison advice that will definitely save you some time and stress. You'll see people coming into prison that weren't prepared for this and didn't realize this was going to be a thing as a new person in prison. And people ask them these questions and they go, well, my name, my last name is such and such. So that's what, the guards are going to be calling me. But My first name is da da da. My family calls me da da da. And what my charge was is this, but what happened was this. And, I live here, but I'm from there and I grew up here. And don't do that, because creating all that excessive dialogue, people in prison are bored, and people in prison will gossip, and people in prison will lie. They will take, a little bit of truth and add some fiction to it to try to make it more interesting. And the more dialogue you produce, the more you give these people to run around and talk behind your back with, the more they're going to add and embellish it. And that's not always going to be something that's beneficial to you. In fact, it could be the source of a lot of drama and a lot of problems that would have been very easily avoided if you just Thompson, West Virginia, nonviolent drug offense. And you want to say it like that, very casual, very monotone, just not, oh, I was set up. Oh, it was 7 of us and only 3 of us went to prison. Don't be a hyena. Don't be a messy, dramatic, loud, obnoxious, ignorant person. And that's what you're going to get pulled into, is that hyena culture by creating all this excessive dialogue that doesn't need to happen. So those are a couple prison tips. One for our high security folks and one for everybody across the board. Your name, where you from, what you do. And sometimes people will throw in, some people will follow that with, how long did you get? Now with the Fed, of course, there's FSA, there's RDAP, there's all these little things. There's these little things that can trim down the amount of time you're going to do, right? But the thing is, if you got a really short sentence, people are going to resent you for that have longer sentences. So you saying how much you got is really opening a door for more problems. If you got a really long sentence, people are going to look at you a little different because of that too. And then another thing is, if you say how long you got, then people are going to say, oh, you say, oh, I got 2 years. People are going to start talking, well, she said this is, why she's here, but, the time doesn't add up. They like to speculate. And again, gossip, they're bored, or people will say, oh, 2 years. Well, with FSA and good time, that's da, 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 da. And if you do RDAP, da, da, da. And now they want to start calculating for you how much time you're going to do, so they have more information to go spreading gossip and talk behind your back with. If they say how long you got, you just say, man, I know when they let me go. I'm here till they release me. I don't want to discuss it. I'm not comfortable with that. My lawyer advised me against having these type of conversations. Any of those answers are perfectly fine. The main thing is monotone, so you're not interesting, because there are new people coming in every day, so there's plenty of other more interesting people for them to divert their attention to. But monotone, so you're not interesting. Non-aggressive, so you're not starting unnecessary, avoidable crap. And keep it as short as possible, and then casually walk away. Not quickly, not expeditiously. You don't want to come off as a person who's scared or uncomfortable, because there are people who will look for that and try to exploit or prey upon that as well. So just a little prison advice for y'all tonight. I hope everyone is doing well. As always, my Cash App and PayPal will be in the description if you'd like to donate to the channel, support what I'm doing with empowering and educating the public and federal defendants and the loved ones of federal defendants. There'll be a link to the merch line if you'd like to get some FedPhoenix gear. My email will be in the description if you need to contact me for any reason. And, whatever you're going through, remember, it is a slice of your life. You will get through it because you have to. So, good day. God bless.